Partner wants to eat the boy's popsicle. The boy blamed them for eating it too fast. Then he spat on it. He gave them 2 more licks. The boys got angry. They all jumped off the bridge because the boy, Kevin, was afraid of heights. In the water, they teased Kevin for being a coward. The younger brother, Kakamu, quickly said, "You're all better than him. He's just afraid of heights." Kevin's self-confidence was shattered. The next day, when his friends were not around, he practiced diving by himself secretly, but he was still too scared to dive, crouching down and crying. Just as he was getting up the courage to jump, an old man stopped him. In the end, he was stopped by the grandfather. Kevin didn't jump, but the summer was still long. That day a girl from the city, Gigi, found the 2 brothers. Seeing Gigi's arrival, Kevu immediately ran back to his room. Kevin took the peanuts and offered them to Yuki, but the next moment, Kamai came out with his bike. She even put a towel on the back seat. Gigi sat on it. Kamai pushed the bike and left. Looking at the background of their departure, Kevin could only pout at the pile of peanuts. In the sunshine, Kamai rode his bike with Gigi. In the breeze, the little ones are envious, but then the bike breaks down halfway. Kemal laughed awkwardly. Then he looked down and fixed the bike. At that moment, Kong Kong from the next village came over with his bicycle. Then Kong Kong took Gigi and left. Kimu still kept his head down and repaired the bike. Then Kong came back on his bicycle. He took away Kimu's white towel and left with Gigi. Looking at the 2 leaving, Kimu was very angry. He vented his frustration on the bike. He even threw the bike into the river. When he got back, he didn't lie. He told his mother the truth and urged his mother to buy him another bicycle. Because of this bike, the 2 brothers were often teased by their friends. They always rode last. Mum promised the 2 brothers. She asked their father, who was in Guangzhou, to send it back in a few days. Hearing that their mother had promised them, the next day the 2 brothers took their friends to the river. They salvaged the bike. They pushed it to sell it. To thank them for their help, the 2 brothers treated them to popsicles. That day the 2 brothers were working in the fields. 2 of their mates rushed over on their bikes. "Tell Kevin and Kevu, your new bikes have arrived." The 2 brothers were so happy to hear the news. They dropped their tools and ran to the house. The new bikes were the envy of their friends. A mountain bike with gears. Kevin is still working on his bike. Kevu had already finished putting it together. Then he changed his clothes and found Gigi. Kimu doesn't have to worry about losing his chain this time. Happy to take Gigi for a ride. Passing in front of Kong, he was so angry inside, throwing away the red towel he had prepared. The next day Kong took some people with him, stopped Kevin and the others halfway. Kong shows off his car skills like crazy. The 2 brothers, Kevin and Kimu, are furious. They also follow Kang's example and take their hands off the bike. As a result, they fell down one after another. Looking at the jeers of Kong and the others, the 2 brothers challenged them to a race. A few days later, they had a competition to ride with their hands off. Kong readily agreed to do so. When they got back, Kevin and the boys were eager to practice. One by one, they fell down. Both brothers were bruised and battered. Kevin wanted to quit the race. It's not as easy as saying you can't ride with both hands. The 2 brothers found their partners to discuss their plan. At that moment, Jia Wei asked Jia Wu what you are most afraid of. He said that if you conquer your fear, then it would be very easy to beat Kong Kong. At this point, Kemu thought about it. Then they came to a coffin. They helped him push open the lid and let him lie down in the coffin. In order to overcome his innermost being, Kemal had to lie down in the coffin. Then they closed the lid and counted the minutes outside. He only had to stay inside for a minute before he could come out. Grandpa Chi-Chi walked in unaware. He picked up the cloth from the floor and put it on top of the coffin. As the 1 minute was up, Kimu climbed out of the coffin and turned around to leave. Grandpa Chi-Chi had a heart attack. Then Kevin's mother came to Chi-Chi's house. She brought a basket of eggs. She gave Chi-Chi's mother a few $100s. She apologized to the old man, blaming her children for not knowing what to do. Luckily, Gigi's mother didn't blame them. When they returned, she punished the 2 brothers for kneeling in front of the house. But Kevin wasn't convinced, so the 2 brothers started training like crazy again. Wheel lifting, squats, running and push-ups. One day the brothers were practicing their bike skills. 2 of their buddies came up from behind. Jia Wei said he had already done it. He also said he could ride with his hands off and a coke. But then they lost their weight and fell off. He broke his head. When we got back, my mother was going to teach them a lesson, to give Jiawei's mother a piece of her mind, until they promised they would never practice cycling again. Only then did she stop teaching them a lesson. But the next day, before dawn, Kevin put yesterday's events behind him. He practiced his bike alone. Kevin helped his mother to dry the wheat at home, but the sky was not kind. The rain started to fall on the wheat. Kevin and his mother rushed to clean up. Kevu was still practicing his biking skills, until the rain stopped. Kevin and his mother put away the wheat, and spread it out again to dry. By this time Kevu had returned home with his bike. The front wheel was broken too. His mother was ready to teach him a lesson, but she couldn't do anything about it, so she told him to change his clothes. He took it to the cleaners, because his father was away working all the time. She took care of the 2 brothers. She had to do farm work every day. After she washed Kimu's soiled clothes, she stood up to leave. Suddenly, She lost consciousness. Mum fell into the river, but the villagers managed to save her. That's how she saved her life. Dad came back from Guangzhou in the evening. He brought a lot of good food for the two brothers. Although Kevin was born only 10 minutes before Kevu, but he was extraordinarily understanding. The two brothers spent 3 hours to cook a bowl of lean meat porridge for their mother, knowing that the two brothers had cooked it specially. His mother's face lit up with relief, but within a few days, Kai Wu, he put the whole thing behind him. All he wanted to do now was practice his driving skills and beat Kong to fix his bike. Kimu got his hands on his dad's wallet, but Kevin caught him red-handed, knowing what his brother wanted the money for. Kevin said in an overbearing manner, "Put the money back and I'll lend it to you." Kimu was stunned. He asked him where he got all that money. Then Kevin opened the cupboard and took out his own personal money from underneath. Having repaired his bike, Kamawu practiced harder and harder, but the hard work didn't stop there. Kadai was able to practice for the race. Both teams arrived that day. On Kevin's signal, the race began. Kong and Kadeo were in a fierce competition, with his buddies following behind. When Kong accidentally hit a rock, the bike loses its weight. The tire got stuck in a bridge pier, and so Kemal won the race. Kong was not convinced. He wanted to fight again next time. Gigi said that if you lose, you lose. Hearing Chi-Chi's words, Kong felt bad, so he took his buddies and left. Chi-Chi realized that she had said the wrong thing. She had offended another friend over a match. The next day Chi-Chi found Kong. She apologized for what she had done yesterday. Kong sheepishly said it was okay. To make up for yesterday's mistake, Chi-Chi offered to draw a picture for Kong. He was seen by Kemalu, who was passing by. He thought that since Chi-Chi was his friend, and should stand with him. He treated Kong as his enemy. After this incident, Kimu never approached Chi-Chi again. He even knocked the helmet Chi-Chi gave him on the floor. The summer holidays were almost over. Mum's health was almost healed. Before dawn, smoke rose from the kitchen. The wife filled a jar of pickles, a jar of pickled vegetables from home. She also cooked a bowl of hot egg noodles for her husband. The couple didn't say much of anything sweet, just a few words about family life, but their eyes were still full of reluctance. After eating the noodles, they went to the roadside to wait for the bus, and Kimu was still sulking at Z. He knew that his father was going to take Z's father's car to leave, but in the face of Chi-Chi's betrayal, he doesn't want to see her yet. That's when Jiawei found him. He told him that Gigi had come to see you this morning to say goodbye. That's when Kaiwu's anger subsided. He remembered what Chi-Chi had said to him before. He loved lotus seeds, so he picked some lotus puffs. He rode his bicycle and made a mad dash for them, but he was still too late. The car had already left. Kemal sat on the side of the road in agony, and then the car came back. It turned out that Dad knew Kemal's temper, so he made the car turn back halfway. Kemalai happily handed the lotus seeds to Chi-Chi, looking at the car leaving, and the summer holiday passed quietly. And that's the end of the film, The Dragonfly Boys. When I was a kid, I wanted to grow up. When I reached 14 or 15 years old, I began to realize that my childhood was really over. As I got older, I'm always reminiscing, to add some kind of romantic touch to my childhood. I think this film has made my childhood. It's becoming clearer and clearer. My parents licking popsicles and bringing home lots of goodies, gambling with my mum, my dad who had to leave home at 7 a.m. These were all part of my wild childhood. After that hot summer day, a downpour and the seasons turn. Time passes. This small time feeling will be forever young as we grow old.